So here's some more examples on how to use a tape measure or a ruler. Let's just look close up at one of the sections in this ruler. You need to know how many hash marks are in between each inch. That lets you know what measurements you're using. If I count the hash marks in between the 1 and 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, well, that would be halfway. 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There's 16 sections in here, so that means this is a 1/16 ruler. Now every mark in here is equally distant apart. Even though these marks aren't the same length, they're the same distance apart. The reason they're a different length is just to help you gauge visually what that measurement is. For example, this mark right here is going to be your 1/16. This little hash right here, this section is 1/16. If I move over to the next one, what is it? Well, that's 2/16 and 3/16 and 4/16 all the way across until you get to this last one, which is 16/16. Now on a ruler, you don't see everything written out with the same denominator, the number under there. It's simplified at various points. For example, the 2/16 right here. What number will go into 2 and into 16? 2 will. So if you divide that down, 2 divided by 2 is 1, 16 divided by 2. So this mark right here, while it is the 2/16 mark, it's also called a 1/8 mark. If we counted over to say this mark right here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this is the 8/16 mark. Now what's another name for 8/16? Well, 1/2. If you reduce both of those down, you will get 1/2. That's why the different marks are different lengths. This right here, if I count it over, would be 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, what is 4 over 16 reduced down? 1/4. So an easier way to do it is to keep up with what these are. You know that the big line in the middle is going to be the 8/16, which is 1/2. All right, if we back it up, this one was the 4 over 16, so that is also 1/4 mark. If I come over here, you see this hash mark is the same length as that one. That's another 1/4. Well, if this is 1/4, this was 2/4 or a half, so this is 3/4. Now, the ones that are this length, let me get a different color. This length right here, if I mark all of those are your 8th marks. So this one is 2/16, which is also 1/8. This would be 2/8 or 1/4. Here's a 3/8. And it continues on. That's why the hash marks are different lengths. So let's measure some lines. Okay, so let's use a fresh ruler now. And we can see. All right, let's count our hash marks. Now we know it goes over to 1 inch, so we can start there. When we count these hash marks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It goes over here to the 8/16. How would I want to reduce that down? Well, that is the same as 1/2. So the measurement of this line is 1 1/2. Let's come down here to this line. Here's 1 inch. So what's our next? 1, 2, 3, 4 16ths, because each hash is a 16th. Now how would I reduce that down? Because there's numbers that go into both of these. 4 will go into both of these numbers. If I divide 4 by 4, I get 1. 16 divided by 4 is 1/4. So this is 1 and 1/4. Okay, let's try this one. Here's the 1 inch. So I know I've got 1 inch and, all right, if I count all of these hash marks, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's 12 of the 16th marks. Now, what number goes into both of those? 4 does. 12 divided by 4 is 3/4. Now, when you practice some, you remember that this was 1/4, this was 2/4 or a half, so this is 3/4. That experience in the lengths of these hash marks, that's what lets you read the ruler more quickly. Okay, let's look at this next example. And lined up there. All right, let's count our hash marks. Now we go all the way over to 2 inches. So I'm not counting all these hash marks because that's 2 inches and 1, 2. So I have 2 inches and 2 of the 16th hash marks. Now remember, what'll go into both of these? 2 will. So 2 divided by 2 is 1 and 16 divided by 2 is 8. You could also remember that the hash marks at this length are the 8ths. You see how the 16ths ones are shorter? So the ones just a little bit longer are the 8th marks. Okay, let's try another one. Here's the 2, but it's not quite to 3. So we know it's going to be 2 inches and something else. Now remember, the ones that were, the longest one was your half, so it's more than a half. The next shorter ones were your fourths. So this is 1/4, 2/4, 3/4. So it's more than that. It's at the 8th mark because it's not at the very shortest marks. It's at the next one. So I can just count those marks. One, it's going to be every other one. So let's count the 8th marks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is 2 and 7/8. Now could you just count all of them? Yes. This is what's going to happen if you count each and every hash mark. Now remember, each and every one is a 16th. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So if you counted all of them, you wind up with 14/16. Now, if you reduce 14/16 down, what do you get? If you divide both of these by 2, 14 divided by 2 is 7, and 16 divided by 2 is 8. So you still get the 7/8. You just kind of had to do some math. All right, let's do one more. Let's look at one more example. All right, this example goes all the way down here to the hash just before the 3. Now let's use our head on this one a little bit. We know that there's 16 hash marks. Well, if I'm one less than going all the way to the next one, what hash mark would this have to be? 15/16. So you got 2 and 15/16. Okay. Now if you counted them all the way over, you're just going to count to 15. And 15/16 won't reduce down. So that's final. Okay, I hope that helped y'all out a little bit more. If you missed the previous video with a little more explanation, I'm going to drop a link to that in the description. Good luck, y'all. You got this.